Order. Questions for oral answer. Dr. Lim Wee Kiat.
Mr. Speaker, sir, may I have your permission to answer all the PQs related to the recent disclosure by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, or ICIJ, of confidential information dubbed the Pandora papers together. And this includes the PQs from Dr. Lim and Mr. Patrick Tay, 1 and 2, the PQ from Ms. Cheryl Chan filed for today's sitting, the written PQ from Ms. Chan for today's sitting, as well as the PQ from Mr. Murali Pillay filed for yesterday's sitting.
Please do.
Sir, as a global financial center, Singapore intermediates a large volume of fund flows for investment or commercial purposes and also provides services in financial asset management. While the vast majority of these activities are carried out by law-abiding individuals and companies, we are constantly on guard against the risk of illicit financing activities. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, or MAS, continually monitors and analyzes information from a wide range of sources as part of its surveillance of money laundering and terrorism financing risk. This includes suspicious transactions reports filed by our financial institutions, information from intelligence sources, including those abroad, and publicly available information such as from independent investigations and media reports. MAS therefore takes very seriously the recent disclosures in the Pandora papers. The ICIJ has reported that 336 prominent individuals from around the world had established offshore structures to hold assets, assisted by 14 service providers operating in at least 38 jurisdictions. 2 of the 14 service providers are foreign incorporated trust companies with subsidiaries in Singapore that are licensed and regulated by MAS. Some ICIJ media reports also mention that many of these individuals had foreign bank accounts linked to these structures in various financial centers, including Singapore. Based on MAS's assessment and information available thus far, the Pandora papers have not raised significant concerns over the money laundering and counter-terrorism financing. This is AML or /CFT in short. So they have not raised concerns over the AML, CFT controls of our financial institutions. Nevertheless, MAS is engaging the relevant institutions to assess if tightening of controls are warranted. As ICIJ itself is careful to acknowledge, there are legitimate reasons to set up offshore structures, such as for investment and estate management. However, offshore structures often lack transparency and are thus vulnerable to abuse for illicit activities. Hence, MAS has clear requirements for financial institutions in Singapore to identify and verify the identities of persons who are beneficial owners or effective controllers of their customer accounts. Financial institutions must understand the reasons for the use of such structures, take measures to ascertain that the assets held in these structures are not illicit, and scrutinize any unusual transactions as part of their ongoing monitoring of the account. MAS also supervises the financial institutions to ensure that their boards and managements have implemented robust controls against money laundering and terrorism financing. Where there are breaches of AML and CFT requirements, MAS has taken strong enforcement actions. In fact, both the licensed trust companies in Singapore mentioned in the Pandora papers have already been subject to MAS's supervisory or enforcement actions. One of them, Asia City Trust Singapore Private Limited, had paid a composition penalty of $1.1 million imposed by MAS in July last year for its failure to implement adequate AML-CFT policies and procedures. The other trust company, Trident Trust Company Singapore Private Limited, was directed by MAS in September last year to remediate weaknesses detected in its risk assessment controls during MAS's supervisory surveillance. Both companies were under intensified scrutiny by MAS before they were mentioned in the Pandora papers. Let me assure this House that Singapore takes the integrity of our financial sector very seriously. As a major international financial center, Singapore will always face the risk of illicit financial flows. What is important is that we supervise our financial institutions well and take strong enforcement actions where necessary to reduce this risk as much as possible. MAS has been doing this and will continue to do so.